Original post. Strange happenings at the local library. Posted by you/Library Whispers. Hey everyone. I wanted to share something bizarre that's been happening at our local library. For context, I work there mostly late shifts, so I'm used to the place being quiet, kind of eerie. But last Thursday, things started getting weird. We found a book in the return slot that doesn't belong to our or any neighboring library systems. It's an old, leather-bound volume with no title on the cover. Just a strange symbol that looks like a circle with several lines cutting through it. None of our systems recognize the barcode inside. Since it showed up, weird things have been happening. Lights flicker, computers randomly shut down, and there's this odd, chilly draft in the reading room that wasn't there before. Anyone heard of something like this? Update 1. Weird developments. Okay, things are escalating. That book? I decided to look into it a bit. When I opened it, the pages were blank. At first. I left it open on the desk while I went to answer a phone call. No one was on the other line, just static. And when I came back, there were words on the page. It looked like it was written in real time, appearing out of nowhere. The words read, "Watch the walls. They breathe." I closed the book and now it's gone. I can't find it anywhere. Also, more people have reported the phone static issue. Getting really creeped out. Update 2. It's watching. I'm not sure how to say this without sounding crazy, but I think the library is watching me. The security cameras seem to turn and follow me, even though they're the old, non-rotating kind. And last night, I heard whispering coming from the history section. When I went to check, the air got so cold I could see my breath. I am seriously considering quitting. I feel like I'm being watched, even as I type this. Update 3. The message. This is getting out of hand. I found another message in the library's computer system. It wasn't there before, but suddenly, every screen displayed the same thing. Do not trust the light. The power cut out right after, and when it came back, everything was back to normal, screens were clear. But now, even the daylight coming through the windows doesn't feel safe. Feels like something is hiding, waiting. What does this mean? Update 4. Something in the library. I'm at the library. I decided to come back tonight, I don't know why. Maybe I thought I could catch whatever is causing this. I was so wrong. The building feels alive. I hear that whispering all around me now, not just from one place. It's dark. Lights won't turn on, and my flashlight barely pierces the darkness. I saw something move in the corner of my eye, taller than any human, with limbs too long and bent wrong. It moved towards the old records room, and now the door is shut. I can hear scratching from inside. I'm hiding in the office writing this. I don't know if I should leave or wait till morning. Final update. Escape. I made it out, barely. I spent the night under a desk. The sounds were horrific, scratching, tapping, then outright banging from different parts of the library. When the sun came up, everything went quiet. I ran out. I'm never going back. I quit this morning, called my boss and told her everything. She said she'll look into it, but I warned her not to go alone. Whatever is in there, it's dangerous, and I think it's tied to that book. I'm leaving town. This isn't over, I feel it, but I can't risk more. Stay away from the library, please. Unexplained disruptions in server room. Posted by you/TechTrouble88. Hey folks, I'm not one for paranormal stuff, but I've got something odd going on at work. I'm an IT specialist for a big data center, handling server maintenance and all that jazz. About a week ago, we started experiencing unusual system outages. No rhyme or reason, just random blackouts affecting our data storage. The logs don't show anything out of the ordinary, but here's where it gets creepy. Every time this happens, the temperature logs record a sudden drop, nearly to freezing, then it jumps back up when the systems come online. Thought I'd ask here if anyone's seen something like this? Update 1. The cold room. So last night was intense. I stayed late to monitor things personally and experienced the outage firsthand. The room went ice cold suddenly. All servers offline. I checked the internal CCTV to see if anything showed up, and guess what? There's a faint outline of something moving between the racks. It's barely visible, like a distortion in the air. I tried to follow it, but it vanished as soon as the servers booted back up. This has got to be something more than just a technical glitch. Update 2. The hidden file. Things just took a turn for the weird. I found a file on one of the servers that doesn't belong. It's named simply Naturally, I opened it. It's full of what looks like gibberish, but every 47th word forms a sentence. We watch from the void. Fear the cold. The file's metadata shows it's been here since the center was built. I can't delete it. The system refuses to recognize my commands when I try. I'm really not sure what to make of this. Update 3 voices. Okay, I'm freaking out a bit here. The temperature drops are now accompanied by whispers. I can barely make out the words, but it's like multiple voices speaking at once, all hushed and urgent. They stop the moment everything powers back up. I recorded them this time, and I'm trying to clean up the audio. If anyone here knows how to decipher overlaid audio tracks, I could use the help. Update 4. The recording analyzed. Thanks to a user here, we managed to isolate one of the voices from the recording. It's chilling. A clear, distinct voice saying, "Don't let it awaken." I have no idea what it means, but after hearing that, things got worse. The entire data center went dark for a full hour tonight. The cold was unbearable, and the movement is not just a distortion anymore. Now it looks like a humanoid figure, pacing between servers, touching them like it's searching for something or someone. Final update. I'm out. I couldn't take it anymore. I left the center early today after something grabbed my shoulder in the dark. Nothing was there when I turned around, but I felt it cold and firm. I've reported everything to my supervisor, and I'm on indefinite leave. I warned them to bring in specialists because this isn't just a tech issue. Something else is going on, something we're not equipped to handle. I'm staying with a friend now, far from the center. Whatever's happening, I'm done. Stay safe, everyone. Unsettling discoveries in my new apartment. Posted by u/newintown321. Hello, r/paranormal and curious onlookers. Just moved into an apartment in a slightly older building, quirky, but has character. However, I've started noticing some really odd things. 2 days ago, I found an old mirror in the back of my bedroom closet, tucked away behind some loose panels. It's not just any mirror. It's got these intricate, almost hypnotic patterns around the frame, and it feels off. When I look into it, I swear the room behind me looks different, darker, more distorted. Has anyone experienced anything like this? Update 1, the mirror's effect. Things have escalated since my last post. Last night, I thought I'd cover the mirror because it gave me the creeps. When I went to drape a cloth over it, my reflection didn't mimic my actions. Instead, it just stared back, smiling slightly. I dropped the cloth and backed away, but when I looked again, everything was normal. I'm really freaked out and not sure what to do. I can't find any markings or maker's tags on the mirror. I'm considering removing it from the wall. Update 2, voices and visions. I tried to sleep last night but kept hearing whispers. They were low but grew louder whenever I neared the mirror. Against my better judgment, I looked into it again. This time, the room in the reflection wasn't mine. It was a much older, decrepit version, with peeling wallpaper and dim light flickering. There was a figure in the corner, just out of clear view, but definitely watching me. I'm not sure what's happening, but I'm starting to think this mirror is not just a mirror. Update 3. Things are getting worse. I didn't sleep at all. The whispers turned into outright talking, and I can understand them now. They're saying things like, "Come closer," and "Just one step." I put the mirror in the closet and shoved a dresser in front of the door. Whatever this is, it's connected to the mirror, and it's trying to communicate. Or worse, lure me. I'm looking into local experts who might know more about haunted objects or something because this is way out of my depth. Update 4. The night it all changed. I had someone coming tomorrow morning to take a look at the mirror, but things have taken a terrifying turn. The dresser I pushed in front of the closet, it moved by itself. The door swung open, and the mirror was facing directly at me. The reflection showed not my apartment, but a dark, endless hallway with figures moving back and forth. One of them looked directly at me and stepped closer until it was pressing against the glass, as if trying to break through. I'm leaving the apartment. I'm at a friend's place now, trying to figure out my next steps. Final update. Escaped, for now. I spent the night at a friend's house. Went back this morning with 2 other people to find the mirror shattered into pieces on the closet floor. No one touched it. The apartment felt lighter immediately, but the landlord says nothing like this has ever happened before. I don't believe that. Something was released, or maybe it's still there. I broke my lease and am staying with my friend until I find a new place. I'm done with old, quirky apartments. Mysterious phenomena in an abandoned farmhouse. Posted by you/Rural Explorer. Hey everyone, long-time lurker, first-time poster here on r/The Truth Is Here. Yesterday, I explored an old abandoned farmhouse on the outskirts of town, known locally as the Crooked House because of its slanted appearance. It's been deserted for decades, and local legends speak of strange lights and sounds emanating from it at night. I went in the afternoon, thinking it'd just be a cool place to photograph, but I found something really odd. An old-fashioned radio in the kitchen still working, playing faint music and what sounded like news broadcasts from another era. Has anyone experienced something similar? Update 1, the radio's message. Thanks for all the responses. I went back to the farmhouse today, armed with a camera and a digital recorder. The radio was still there, still on. I managed to record some of it, and amidst the old-time music and crackling, I distinctly heard a date repeated over and over, April 23, 1954. Strange thing is, the news mentioned events that never happened in our history. Things like a president who doesn't exist and a war that never occurred. It's like it was broadcasting from another world or a different dimension. Update 2. Disturbance in the farmhouse. I can't shake off the feeling about the radio, so I went back again. This time, the farmhouse felt different. Colder, darker, even in daylight. I heard footsteps upstairs while I was in the kitchen with the radio. I'm sure no one else was in the house. The dust on the stairs was undisturbed except by my own feet. When I bravely went up to check, the air grew so cold, I could see my breath. The footsteps stopped, but then I heard a soft, pleading voice calling out from the attic, "Please, help me." I didn't go up there. I left in a hurry. Update 3, return with reinforcements. I couldn't get the voice out of my head, so I returned to the farmhouse with 2 friends. We all heard the radio still chattering away as soon as we stepped inside. This time, armed with more courage and company, we went straight to the attic. The door was unnervingly open, as if inviting us in. Inside, the room was empty except for a single chair facing a dusty window. The voice begged again, clearer now, "Please, let me out." We searched everywhere, but found nothing tangible. As we left the room, the temperature dropped, and the door slammed shut behind us. We managed to open it after a tense few minutes, but decided it was best to leave immediately. Update 4. The night everything changed. Against all better judgment, I returned alone last night. I felt drawn to the place, like something unfinished was pulling me back. As I entered, the radio was silent for the first time, which somehow felt more ominous. I went straight to the attic, and that's when it happened. The radio crackled to life downstairs, louder than ever, playing a chilling message. "Don't leave us here with her." Chills ran down my spine. I ran down to the kitchen and saw a shadow dart through the hallway into the living room. I followed, and what I saw next will haunt me forever. The shadows in the room gathered into a human shape, with glowing red eyes staring right at me. It whispered, "Now you're part of us," before vanishing. Final update: escaping the Crooked House. I spent the rest of the night in my car, parked far from the farmhouse, too terrified to drive. Dawn couldn't come soon enough. When I returned this morning, the house was eerily silent. No radio, no voices, just silence. I went to retrieve my equipment and vowed never to return. I'm still processing what happened, and part of me wonders if I should destroy that radio, if it's a conduit for something darker than I can understand. For now, I'm keeping away, but the pull to go back remains strong. I'm not sure this is over, but I need to stay away. I'm considering moving to another state entirely. Disturbing noises from the basement of my new house. Hey r/Nasleep. Just moved into an old house in a quiet suburb. It's charming, really high ceilings, wooden floors, and a bit of a fixer-upper. But there's something off about the basement. Every night since I moved in, I've heard noises coming from down there. Sounds like dragging feet or sometimes a low, mournful sobbing. The previous owners left in a hurry, and now I'm wondering if this is why. Has anyone dealt with something like this before? Update 1. First night alone. So, I decided to check it out last night. I know, classic horror movie mistake, right? I took my flashlight and went down. The noises stopped the moment my foot touched the basement floor. It was silent, oppressively so. As I swept the light around, it flickered over something in the far corner. An old trunk. When I opened it, there was just an assortment of old, dusty books and a child's doll with one eye missing. The moment I touched the doll, the sobbing started again, louder this time, right behind me. I didn't look back, just ran upstairs and locked the door. Update 2, the doll. I haven't been able to stop thinking about the doll. It's like it's calling to me. Last night, I heard the sobbing again, but this time, it was mixed with a child's laughter. It was too much. I went back down to the basement to put the doll back in the trunk, hoping it would stop. But when I got there, the trunk was empty. No books, no doll. Nothing. I don't know how that's possible. I left the basement empty-handed, and the laughter followed me up the stairs. Update 3, researching the house. I've done some digging into the history of this house, and I wish I hadn't. Turns out, a little girl lived here in the early 1900s. She disappeared without a trace. Last seen playing in the house. No one ever knew what happened to her. Theories ranged from kidnapping to an accident in the house itself. Since finding this out, the disturbances have gotten worse. The sobbing and laughter are almost constant at night, and I swear I can hear a small voice calling out, "Come play." Update 4, night visitor. Last night was the worst yet. I was lying in bed when I heard the basement door creak open. I froze, listening as little footsteps seemed to pad across the wooden floor of my bedroom. The edge of my bed dipped, like someone sat down. I was too terrified to turn around. After a few minutes, the weight lifted, and the footsteps retreated. This morning, I found the doll lying on the kitchen table. I don't know how it got there. I'm scared to stay another night, but I don't feel like I can leave either. Something wants me here. Final update. Leaving the house. I couldn't take it anymore. After finding the doll, things escalated quickly. Doors slamming, lights flickering, and that constant sobbing and laughing. I called a friend, and they agreed I could stay with them for a while. When I left the house, I took the doll with me, planning to destroy it, thinking it might end everything. But when I looked in the rearview mirror as I drove away, the doll was gone from the passenger seat. I got to my friend's place and immediately felt a sense of relief. But tonight, as the sun set, I could hear a faint sobbing outside the window. I think it followed me. Mysterious shadows and disappearances in Rivertown. Posted by you/MrMan88. Hello, r/unresolved mysteries community. I recently moved to a small town called Rivertown, nestled along a large, foggy river. It's picturesque, but there's an eerie aspect to it, especially at night. Lately, there have been reports of people going missing, 3 in the past month alone. The strange part? Each disappearance happened on a night when the fog was unusually thick, and neighbors reported seeing shadows moving against the fog, larger than any human could cast. I'm a journalist by trade, so I'm drawn to this mystery. Anyone have similar experiences or insights? Update 1. First night investigation. Thanks for the interest and advice. I ventured out last night, a foggy evening, to see if I could observe anything unusual. As the fog settled in, the streetlights seemed to distort, and shadows danced in the periphery of my vision. I managed to snap some photos, though they mostly show swirling mist. However, one shot captured what looks like a tall, thin shadow standing in the middle of the road. When I looked up from my camera, there was nothing there. This is getting more intriguing and unsettling. Update 2. Interviews with locals. I spoke with several longtime residents today. Their stories share eerie similarities. They spoke of a local legend, the Mist Walkers, shadowy figures said to roam the streets on foggy nights, believed to be spirits of people lost to the river. One elderly man, Mr. Jacobs, told me his grandfather vanished one such night over 50 years ago, and he believes these shadows took him. These tales are starting to paint a chilling picture of this town's history with the fog. Update 3. A closer encounter. I decided to follow the fog to the river's edge last night. The atmosphere was oppressive, and the fog was so thick I could barely see my hand in front of my face. As I stood by the water, the air grew colder, and I heard what sounded like whispers carried across the water. Suddenly, a large shadow loomed before me, distinctly human-shaped but unnaturally large. It didn't move or make a sound, just stood there in the mist. I took a photo and the flash seemed to make it dissipate. I left immediately, feeling an intense sense of dread. Update 4. The disappearance of Emily. Things have taken a serious turn. A local woman, Emily, whom I interviewed about the town's history, has gone missing. She was last seen walking home from work, a route that takes her along the river on another foggy evening. Her family is distraught, and the police are stumped. There's no trace of her, just like the others. This can't be a coincidence. I've decided to intensify my investigation. I need to find out if there's a connection between these disappearances and the shadows. Update 5. Discovering an old diary. I came across an old diary in the town library, written by a lighthouse keeper from the early 1900s. He wrote extensively about the fog and how it seemed to bring unwanted visitors. On several occasions, he mentioned seeing figures in the mist and how animals would go silent as they approached. One entry ended with a chilling warning: "Do not follow the shadows into the mist, for they lead to the river's depths." I'm starting to believe there's more truth to these legends than I initially thought. Update 6. Night on the river. Armed with more knowledge and a growing sense of urgency, I went to the river last night, planning to stay until morning. The fog was thick, curling around me like a living thing. Around midnight, I saw multiple shadows converging towards the water. I followed at a distance. Near the old pier, the shadows stopped and seemed to merge together, forming a larger, more distinct figure. It faced the river, then slowly walked into the water and disappeared. The fog lifted shortly after, and the night was suddenly clear. There was an eerie peace, and for the first time, I felt like these spirits or entities had some unresolved connection to the river. Final update: leaving Rivertown. After last night's experiences, I've decided it's time to leave Rivertown. The connection between the fog, the river, and the disappearances feels beyond my ability to safely investigate. I'm leaving my findings with a local historian and the police. Whatever is happening here, it's rooted deeply in the town's fabric, connected to the river and its history. I've warned the townspeople to be cautious, to avoid the fog if they can. As for me, I'll keep researching from a distance, but Rivertown's shadows are too close for comfort. Disconcerting events in the Grey House. Hello r/ghost stories. I've recently inherited a property from a distant relative, known locally as the Grey House. It's a sprawling old mansion on the outskirts of town and has been empty for years. From my first night, odd things started happening. Doors slamming, windows that would open by themselves, and a constant feeling of being watched. The locals avoid the place, claiming it's cursed by its violent history. Apparently, my ancestor was a notorious figure, rumored to have been involved in some dark dealings. Update 1. A disturbing discovery. Thank you for your responses and suggestions. Following some of your advice, I explored the basement, which has always been locked. I found the key hidden under a loose floorboard in the hallway. The basement was more like a catacomb, filled with strange symbols on the walls and an unsettling number of old photographs and newspaper clippings about missing persons from decades ago. There's also a large, old-fashioned furnace that seems out of place. Its interior looks recently used, which doesn't make sense given the house has been empty. Update 2. The photographs. I spent the day going through the photographs I found. Many are old, some dating back to the early 1900s, but disturbingly, some are much more recent. One photo in particular caught my attention. It's of me taken about a week before I inherited the house. I don't remember this being taken. I'm starting to feel less like an heir and more like a target, as if I was chosen for something. Update 3, Night Voices and Visions. Last night was the worst yet. I kept hearing whispers after midnight, voices calling my name. I followed them to the library, where I found a hidden door behind a bookshelf. It led to a small room filled with occult books and a diary belonging to my ancestor. The diary detailed rituals and sacrifices said to ensure eternal life. The final entry chillingly noted the necessity of an heir to complete the last ritual, scheduled for the night when the house would next be inhabited. Tonight. Update 4, The Gathering Shadows. As I write this, the house feels alive. Shadows move with intent rather than flicker, and the cold is bone deep. I hear the whispers growing louder, clearer, calling me back to the basement. There's a part of the diary I hadn't noticed before, a bookmarked page that details the ritual. It requires the heir to willingly descend into the darkness to join the eternal family. I'm terrified that entering the basement again might be the last choice I make, but I'm drawn to it, almost compelled by an unseen force. Final update, the last entry. This is not the original poster, but a friend. I came to check on them after they sent a string of incoherent texts and then went silent. I found this account open on their computer in a house that seems disturbingly normal, if dusty. There's no sign of any disturbances, no hidden doors, no basement entrance where they claimed. It's just an old house, quiet and empty. I've called the police, but there's no trace of my friend. The only oddity I found was a fresh set of footprints leading to a wall in the library where they described a hidden door, but they don't lead back out. Harrowing experience in the New England woods. Posted by you/Forest Whisperer. Hey r/no sleep. I need to tell you about a series of disturbing events that happened to me recently. I've always been an avid hiker, drawn to the solitude and beauty of nature. Last week, I decided to explore a remote part of the New England woods known for its deep forests and minimal human interaction. Locals whispered about strange happenings there, but chalked it up to superstition. I should have listened. Update 1, the first night. I set up camp near a small clearing. The first night was peaceful, just the sounds of the forest lulling me to sleep. But in the early hours, I awoke to a soft humming sound that seemed to emanate from all around me. It was almost hypnotic, luring me out of my tent. I followed the sound to the edge of the clearing where the trees became dense. That's where I saw it. A dim, bioluminescent glow moving between the trees. It was strangely beautiful, and I foolishly decided to follow it. Update 2, the lost day. This is hard to admit, but I can't account for what happened next. I remember following the light deep into the woods. Then nothing. I woke up back at my campsite the next morning. The tent flap open, my gear scattered. My watch and phone showed it was a full day later. I felt a deep sense of unease, like I wasn't alone. My memory of that lost day is fragmented, filled with fleeting images of twisted, smiling faces and whispers that felt like they were right next to my ear. Update 3, disturbing findings. Trying to make sense of what happened, I ventured back to where I last remembered following the light. As I approached the area, the air grew unnaturally cold, and the usual forest sounds completely ceased. No birds, no insects, nothing. The silence was oppressive, suffocating. I found my own footprints from the previous night, circling around an old, gnarled tree. Carved into the tree was a series of symbols that seemed to pulse with a faint, eerie glow. Touching them sent a sharp pain through my hand, like an electric shock. I quickly backed away. Update 4, the camera footage. Back at home, I finally mustered the courage to look through my camera, which I had on me the whole time. The last video before the lost day showed me following the light, but the footage was corrupted, filled with static and disturbing, guttural sounds that I don't remember hearing in person. The final few seconds before the video cuts out completely show a reflection in a puddle, a reflection that wasn't me. It was something else, something inhuman, standing right behind me. I can't explain it, and it chills me to the bone. Update 5, returning to normal. I've been trying to resume my normal life, but things haven't been the same since the hike. At night, I hear the humming again, outside my house. Sometimes I see the faint glow through the curtains. I started noticing small, Unexplained injuries on my body when I wake up. Scratches, bruises, even a burn mark shaped like one of the symbols from the tree. I'm losing time more frequently now, hours slipping by in what feels like minutes. Final update, the consequences. This is not the original poster, but their brother. I felt I needed to update this post for anyone following. My brother disappeared 3 nights ago. His last words to me were about returning to the forest to find answers. We found his car near the original campsite, but no sign of him. The only thing left behind was his journal, open to a page that read, "It's calling me back. I can't ignore it anymore. I have to go back. It's a part of me now." The search teams haven't found any trace of him. It's like he vanished into thin air. Whatever he found in those woods, it didn't let him go.